Hi there, and welcome to the Homestead Education Podcast. Do you have a homestead, farm, or just dream of a rural life? This is a show to help you and your kids grow your own food and grow as a person. I'm your host, Kody Hanner. I'm a homesteader, homeschool mama 6, and small town enthusiast. I was raised by an old school rancher and blessed by the grace of God to have been exposed to so much of what rural life has to offer. Join me every week to talk about homesteading, homeschooling, and growth with a homestead education. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to have you here today because I have an amazing guest. I have Stacy Lyn Harris, who is a best-selling cookbook author, blogger, speaker, wife, and mother of 7. And I swear this girl just has things that speak to my heart. So thank you so much for coming on today, Stacy.
I am so thrilled to be on here. This is going to be fun.
I'm excited. So tell me a little bit more about just what you do, and we'll go from there.
Gosh. Okay. So I'm trying to learn right now to batch everything because that I get so much more done in that scenario. So it's like one day doesn't look like the other day. Yesterday, I did taxes. The day before that, I did taxes. And so I'm finally finished with that. So I did our personal, my business and all that. And then the day before that, I did, their reports for the kids. And so, with the homeschooling, and I'm now down to homeschooling only 2. And my other kids are, one's a dentist, one's graduating from law school this year, one's about to graduate with her MBA. And then
congratulations, Mama.
So, well, thank you. But it's been a long road. And, like when you're in it, you don't know how it's going to end up. It's like a very, very long experiment. And so, but it was an experiment I felt that the Lord led us to do. So, it's in his hands and it would be okay. But anyway, we, so homeschooling, have a garden, we hunt. I have a show on the outdoor channel. So we just got finished filming for that the week before that. All the other stuff I'm talking about doing. And then the week before that, I was planning all the shows. So it depends on what's going on as far as what I'm doing. But, you can catch me on social media at Stacy Lyn Harris, pretty much all the socials. So, and I try to keep up.
Oh, yeah. Good luck with that one.
Exactly. I know. Exactly.
Oh, my poor followers. When I'm flying, like half my messages don't even come through. So I don't see them until I sit down for the night and
yes,
look through what's there. And I do have a team that helps me out, but there's certain things where I'm like, I want to connect with my people. You guys are the ones that just make sure my pictures get all posted at the right time,
Yes. I know.
So no, I definitely feel that one. So for my listeners, the first time I ever came across Stacy Lyn Harris she was on Jill Winger's podcast, which I've been on Jill's myself and have followed her for a long time. And I just right off the bat loved that a woman was being celebrated for hunting.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's such a great thing. I mean, hunting is amazing. And people don't know it, but it's huge in conservation.
Yeah.
If we didn't do it, then, so many things would go extinct and people don't realize that.
There's a whole section in my book that talks about why hunters are conservationists. So
yes.
I am with you on that one. I grew up, my parents were both members of Safari Club International and every other hunting club there was. And being a girl growing up in California, I grew up in Northern California, which is very rural, but still.
We just got back from there. Got back from vacation. It is beautiful. It reminds me so much of Alaska.
Yeah. What part were you in?
We were in, I'm thinking of Alaska at this point, but we were where all the sequoias and, the up in that area.
In the northern part?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's similar to where I grew up. I grew up right on the south end. It's where the wine country meets the redwoods is where I grew up.
Well, that's pretty much where we were.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous place. And, my husband and I talk all the time about how we wish California hadn't turned into what it has because it has everything that we could ever want there had it not.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Fort Bragg's is kind of the area that we were.
I grew up 40 minutes from Fort Bragg inland. So
it was inland.
I grew up in Ukiah.
Okay. Yeah. I think we went through there.
Oh, so probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It was so beautiful. I loved it,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
So my dad was a pig hunting guide in that area
Oh,
because we
really?
just had pigs like crazy. That must mean the family's home. That was his rule. When family got home, come shut the door so I didn't
Oh,
go.
good. Yeah. That's a good rule. I like it.
Right? He's my really good one. And he's just so sweet and responsible and
How old is he?
5.
Okay, that's your 5-year-old. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is very responsible, coming and shutting the door, and he looked older than that. So yeah.
But so yeah, growing up there, even with it being a very rural area, I was definitely looked at as the weird girl for being so involved in hunting as I was with my dad. And I mean, he was a guide. We went to trade shows. My first time ever being published was in a hunting magazine.
Wow, that is fantastic.
Yeah, I wrote an article on reopening mountain lion hunting.
Okay, yeah.
So with all
That
the
would have been
statistics
good.
and how the state could actually save money, but yeah.
Okay, that is great. How old were you when you wrote that?
Well, I was in my 20s, but yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. That is great.
So yeah, so like I said, the first time I heard you speak on that, it was just like, wow, this is like the first time I've heard it, highlighted, spotlighted like this. And it was really exciting for me.
Well, a lot of homesteaders don't hunt because they have animals, domesticated animals, on their farm. And we have chickens, but we don't have cattle, because we do most of our farming here. And like I live on 7 acres. And so we have a garden and we've got chickens and we've had bees. We don't have them anymore, but we had bees. And, we did pretty much everything. And for our meat, we hunted, but we don't, besides the chickens, we would hunt, and that's just how we've always done it.
Yeah.
And most people don't do it, whether they may live in a state that the laws are, you can only get one a year, or you got to get a tag, and all that. But, hunting and fishing is a fabulous way to supplement your homestead.
Well, yeah,
And that's so good.
when you have the number of kids that like we have, when everybody gets one deer,
Exactly.
you're solid.
Yeah, you are. And it is great. And here in Alabama, we can get more, like we can get, it changes every year, but I think they got like 16 deer or something, this year. So it's been really great. And then we have dove and we have pheasant, and, we don't do that quite as much, duck. And then it's turkey season right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have turkeys. And so I like working with the turkeys and the deer the best, I think, because you get this bulk of meat instead of having to sit there with a squirrel and, get this tiny amount. It's a lot of work.
Sometimes, yeah, it's just not.
Yeah.
Or then like the neighbors, we get elk tags up here, but the neighbors called the other day. They said, hey, we have a depredation permit for an elk, for the elk that are getting into our hay. And so we just took down this big old herd cow. Do you guys just want to come get her? Yes.
That'd be great.
So in the middle of the night where, we all run over there and we get this elk. And we spent the next 2 or 3 days getting her all cut up. And that's our red meat for most of the year.
That is great. Isn't that the best, to know that you don't have to go to the store? A lot of times we'll, I don't want to go to the store one week, and I think it's good not to, as much as you can, and just kind of work with what you have and get rid of the things that you have and clean out and see what you have. And, you can do that for like a month, like around here. Yeah, we could do it a month because we have the meat, we've got a big freezer, and, that works for us unless the freezer goes bad. And you can, yeah, I have too, several times. And you can refreeze meat if it's still cold. Which a lot of people
we've done that too.
Yep, we've done that. I've gotten everything out and cooked it and then refroze, then refreeze it. And I've done just about everything because we've had this happen probably 4 or 5 times.
Dog food makes really great dog food.
Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't think about.
Because a lot of times, we'll have a package that was just going to be stew meat or jerky meat or something.
Yeah,
you thawed out twice. You're like,
yeah.
That's
a good idea.
We actually, whenever we butcher anything, we keep all the scraps and we put them in Ziplocs. And then once a week or every other week, my daughter throws them in the Instapot with all the like potatoes that are starting to get soft, leftover milk or something like that. Or if I bought plain yogurt for something and then nobody ate it, that all goes in, and that's extra dog food for especially our Great Pyrenees. So
that is a great idea. That is
Mhm.
a very good idea. I love
I always
that.
say keep the protein on the farm. So
Yeah. 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 I had never thought about that. That's a very good idea.
yeah. So I mean, we totally get it with that. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, yeah, we still raise domestic meat. I mean, we're pig farmers. So
Right.
I mean,
Right.
we have tons of pork. And honestly, if you've ever had wild pork, bleh.
Well, we have a lot of, you think that, and
Well,
but we have a lot of wild pigs, and
mhm,
we've been getting them because they've about overtaken our farm. So and the deer,
mhm,
the population decreases, and our turkey population. So our turkey population's increased this year because last year we got 400 pigs off of our property. So we did eat,
a lot of pig.
a
Yeah.
lot of those. And so I learned how to cook it right, but domesticated I kind of think of them as completely different
Yeah.
meats
Well, I
because they're
mean,
just
my
different.
dad being a pig hunting guide, I ate more. So like if we have we had a boar that we thought he was a barrow, but he still had one nut. And when we butchered him, he had a little boar taint to him. My,
Okay.
my husband could not handle it. He's like, nope, you're not cooking it in the house. Like, even if you feed it to the dogs, you're cooking it outside. And I'm like, oh, this is fine. It's just a mild boar taint, because
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I've
yeah.
eaten, 400-pound wild boar that I'm not even sure how people get that down, but
Well, I think I mean, we've made bacon out of it. We've smoked, and it was a big, big one. But it wasn't all that bad, but I don't know, maybe it was just not eating the same stuff that one was. And I think at different times of the year, they taste different,
that's
too.
true.
And
Yeah.
I got a goose one year, and it would, I could not even cook the thing. I would, you think if you pound it out, this is the way that I do really tough meat. So you pound it
Mhm.
out and you get all that connective tissue, muscle fiber, all broken up, and you put it in the pan that it's going to fry up and it's going to be nice and tender. Well,
Mhm.
that's what I had envisioned. I go to do it and I, put the oil in there. I get it sizzling hot, just like I do always. Put in the goose. And after I had tenderized it, gotten it all, all pounded out, put it in there, and it just shrunk. It just went whoosh, like it was like it turned into like about as big as the palm of my hand when it had been, a big, big like steak. And
Yeah.
looking, and anyway, but that's the only time that ever happened. But I was like, I wonder if it was the time of the year. I don't know. I absolutely do not know. But I will say, if you're going to make goose, one of my favorite ways, and I did it on the show just recently, I smoked the goose breast
Mhm.
and made salami out of it.
Ooh,
And it
yum.
was absolutely delicious. It was so good. And so we had it with a little goat cheese on a cracker, and it was great. It was just good.
That's so the same neighbors that get depredation for the elk, they get them for turkey as well.
Okay.
The
Okay.
turkeys harass the cows. I know
Oh,
this sounds
they're
dumb,
the
but
worst.
yeah, they
Yeah.
stress out the cows and then they're not eating good and that type of
Yeah.
thing. So we'll go over there and we can just go over and get, as many as we can get off their land for them.
That's so great.
And we'll come home and just breast them all out and we
We're
wrap
so
them
lucky.
tight. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we smoke them and slice them for a lunch meat
Um,
and then just freeze it like whole breast at a time. And it is just amazing.
that's a great idea. That's a really good idea. I may need to do
That's
this.
well, and see, that's one of the ones I teach on is, there's certain things we're just so ingrained that you would just buy at the store,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
lunch
You
meat.
don't have to. Yeah.
Or that if you think about it, oh, I had a steak, okay, I'm having a steak sandwich afterwards. People don't think about preparing their lunch meats and stuff out of the roasts and things like that they get from whether it's hunting or what they're doing on their farm or they're at the grocery store and there's a sale on prime rib or something.
Exactly. Exactly. You're so right. I know with the salami meat that we made Reubens, the next day, which is really
Uh-huh.
good, on Hawaiian rolls, and put the mustard and the not the coleslaw. What do you put on those? I make it all the time out of cabbage. I don't know how my
Oh,
mind is.
sauerkraut.
Yes, there you go. So the sauerkraut and, and all of that together. And it was just delicious. So, you can, and I'm going to do that with the turkey. I had not, I've made it for lunch meat before, but I hadn't thought about making it into lunch meat and then putting it in the freezer.
Yeah, especially when you have a bunch like that. I mean, it just really, but I mean, we're constantly trying to do things like that. My husband wanted to surprise me when I got home from my last trip, and he smoked a 5-pound cheese stuffed meatloaf.
Ooh, yum.
It was delicious.
I love that. Yeah.
But he forgets that our teenagers are out of the house now and stuff. And so we don't need a 5-pound meatloaf.
Yes. Yes.
So I ended up the next night I fried meatloaf steaks in bacon grease in the cast iron skillet and made potato salad to go with that. And then last night he chopped it and did basically corned beef hash, but with smoked meatloaf chunks.
See, that is so good. Yeah. And then you can have it for sandwiches too. I love a meatloaf sandwich. And I love mayonnaise. I mean, none of my kids, my husband, nobody, but I am a mayonnaise lover.
I love mayonnaise. I mean, it's
terrible.
And I think my dad was from Middle Tennessee and he put mayonnaise on everything. And so I think it just kind of, the first time my husband saw me put mayonnaise in my chili, I think he was ready to leave me. And then I was like, you got to try a bite. And then we'll talk.
Pretty good, actually. I've never done it, but it sounds pretty dang good.
Oh man. You put cheese and break up cornbread and then a spoonful of mayonnaise.
Yeah.
It's so
I'm
good.
Gonna try it. I usually do the sour cream, but I'm going to try the mayonnaise because
it's different with the mayonnaise. It gets that little bit of a sweetness with the cornbread and stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I'll put it on my hamburgers and stuff. And my family's looking at me like, what in the world? But it just makes it so much better. I mean, I'm like, okay, extra mayo,
Right.
And making your own is really not that hard either. If you've got eggs and oil. Yeah. And I say oil funny. So oil. People will actually write me emails and say, they'll make up a poem. I've had people make poems up with the word oil in it that rhymes with other things. Anyway, it's just real funny, but they're not trying to be mean, but some people
my dad was from Middle Tennessee and my husband lived in the South after the military. So I completely understand what you're saying.
Okay, good. We don't have to put captions up.
Yeah. Oh, funny. But so you guys definitely, you involve your kids in hunting too. Right?
Yes. Yeah. And they all love it. Every one of our kids. And so, I didn't like hunting when I first got married because I felt like it kind of took away from me and, and I was like, I don't know, the insecure, I guess, wife, but time went on, I decided, okay, I'm going to get on board here and I'm going to do something in this. And so I learned how to cook it before I started really hunting it. And, it was just amazing. The transformation of our food and the flavor, everything was so good. And so when each child came along, I worried about, I wonder if they're going to like this because Scott, he hunts all the time. I mean, it was like every day of the weekend and several days of the week. And he cut back to just several days of the week. But he took, all the kids from the time, they could get in a backpack and, and they might not could walk yet, but he would take them. And so they've all just been hunting ever since. And then
I breastfed on the side of a mountain. So
oh yeah. All my kids. Yeah. I mean, what, you breastfed or you?
Probably both. I don't know if I was the one breastfeeding, but I breastfed my babies on the side of the mountain. So
yeah. Same here. And you just do what you do, you just do it. I was fishing the day I got out of the hospital having one of the children because I knew they were stir crazy. They had been in the house for days while I was having the baby. And so I was like, we need to go fishing. And so so he was 3 days old and he was already fishing. So we just do it. It's just the best thing for large families. You can do that together. It is a sport. It is interesting. You are getting food. You're teaching them conservation early. You're teaching them the cycle of life early. You're teaching them to respect nature early. It teaches them everything, teamwork even, because depending on what you're hunting, everything you want to know. I know when we were homeschooling and, we would ask the boys, especially, do you want to, play football this year? And they're like, isn't that during hunting season? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, no, thank you. And so
we're good.
we're not missing out, on the hunting.
That was actually our boys wrestled a few years back, and that would start during hunting season.
Oh yeah.
And that was one of the catalysts to us starting to homeschool is, hey, we can hunt all day long while everybody else is at school.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's awesome. It's awesome.
We had a lot of fun with that for a long time. I mean, that was when like Onyx hunting app like first came out.
Yeah.
And we were living in the high desert of Oregon at the time.
Wow.
And I was like, look at all these lakes. There's lakes everywhere. And I'm just so drawn to water, not oceans. I'm drawn to like mountain lakes, rivers, creeks, like just I would be there.
Yes.
And so we basically went on this mission. My husband's a disabled vet, so he's a stay-at-home dad. Every day it was like find a new lake somewhere on this app and figure out how to get there.
Wow.
And, I mean, even if it wasn't hunting season. So I mean, we would drive as far as we could and we'd hike the rest of the way. And I mean, when my 5-year-old that walked in here a minute ago, when he was 3 weeks old, I had a C-section. At 3 weeks old, we hiked 6 miles down the Pacific Crest Trail.
Oh, that's something. Because I had a C-section with my second one, and I just, oh my gosh, I was like, I'm not going to do this again if I can.
I had to have C-sections every time, and and you know, it was so bad with my 3-year-old. I was just miserable, and I'd get out of bed, and as soon as I'd get out of bed, I'd feel like I was just going to collapse because I was just hurting so bad. I told my husband, like, I got to get out of the house. Like, I don't even care what it is.
Yeah.
Like, well, let's go for a drive. We'll try not to hit too many bumpy roads, you know. And we came up on the Pacific Crest Trail on some mountain back road. And he's like, well, do you want to get out and check it out for a little bit? Well, it's through that area, it was pretty flat, but it wasn't terrible. I ended up with 3 miles out and, you know, then 3 miles back to the car. Right after a C-section.
That's impressive because it takes a little while to get back. One of my friends, she had them with everyone and she seemed to be okay. I mean, but she didn't know any different. It's just when you have them regular, you can snap back like 3 days, you're fine.
Yeah. I had twins first that were like full Frank and breech and 7 pounds apiece. So.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. I do not know people do that. I do not. I cannot imagine having twins.
Well, and people are like, are twins, you know, what's harder, twins or a single? Well, they asked me that before I ever had any of my singles. And I'm like, oh no.
This is what it is. Yeah.
And now actually, when I look back on it, it was easier having twins.
How is that?
You know, at first it was hard because, you know, like when you're going through all the like changing all the diapers and that type of stuff and, you know, breastfeeding in the middle of the night, like, that's definitely hard.
Yeah.
But once they got like 6 months old and past, I had someone to play with all the time. Yeah,
that does help a lot because I know with my oldest son, he, you know, being by himself for 2.5 years, you know, and it's like you're their playmate. And I felt like I needed to play all the time. One of my friends kept saying, you do not have to play all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I really do. And so I was playing constantly. And then, you know, when I had the next baby, you know, a year later, it's like, then they started playing and it's so much easier to have more children. And I don't know, it would have been really hard to homeschool. Like if you just had one, I think it would be really difficult. And I'm about to have just one here. She's 13 and I have a book tour coming up next year. So she'll probably go on that with me.
I was going to say, just take her with you.
Yeah. And I always take at least one of the kids with me pretty much everywhere I go. And so it's great. It's an awesome thing because then you get that one-on-one time and, you know, you get to teach them different things and how to travel. And before I started doing this, I really didn't know how to travel that well because I did not ever go anywhere. Yeah. And when you have a homestead, it's hard to go places, you know, anyway, because you have to get people to take care of all your animals. So.
Yeah, I travel with usually my 14-year-old daughter.
Yes.
And she is a gem. Like I took my 14-year-old son with me on my last trip and boys just don't think the same way.
It's different.
Just don't think the same way.
Well, and 14-year-olds boys there's something to behold. And so I had three, and I have really, really good kids, and they love the Lord, but boy, oh boy, I mean, 14 is a weird age. So for all of them, every one of them. So it must be for the whole world.
Right. Because
no, everybody knows it or not, but watch out.
Right. We have two older boys. In our birth stories, I did not give birth to them. Their mother passed away. They were my husband's late wife. Okay. And I've been raising them since they were real little. So they're my boys. Yes. My 17-year-old is extreme. So I tell him that raising him hurts as bad as giving birth. So he better call me mama. And it goes pretty well. But yeah, so we've gone through 14 with both of them. And I was just like, I was ready to sell them. And now, my oldest is now turning 14. And I'm just like, oh yeah, but it's going to be great when they hit 17 to 19. Yeah, it's and they're on the right track. It's so much better. They don't know what to do with all those hormones. They just absolutely do not know what they're doing. Well, our 18-year-old, he's doing great. I mean, he just moved out because he works as an electrician's apprentice.
Yes.
And we're 45 minutes from town. And and then he's starting a program at the community college. It's another hour away. And he's like, I just can't do the 2 hours, Yeah,
it makes sense.
So he rented a place with a buddy because it makes more sense for them. But he's been working as an electrician's apprentice since he started working for the guy when he was 15.
Wow. So, that's so great. We need electricians, and we need more plumbers too. And, plumbers make a mint. Scott's just like, I don't think I can afford a plumber to come over, but they're like $250, just to come, look at something.
Mm-hmm. So, every time. So maybe that's what I should get my 14-year-old to be doing. He wants to be a farm engineer, like an ag engineer.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
And so that's all he talks about, looks at.
Well, maybe he's meant to do it, Mm-hmm. I think everybody's kind of bent in a certain way, and they sort of know from the beginning kind of what they want to do. And, I always wanted to be a lawyer. And I ended up doing that, but,
oh, wow.
But then I had children, and, I felt like I can't take care of somebody's life. I mean, when you're talking lawyer, usually it's, not so much life and death, but it affects their life in such a way. And I wanted to be able to give my all to that. And I just really couldn't. And I wanted to have children and, pour into them. And I thought, I could change some people's lives, being a lawyer, but having 7 kids and pouring into them, and then them changing people's lives is going to be way more effective. So that's pretty much what I chose to do.
That's amazing. I applaud you on that, because I did the same thing. I found my career and then went back to being mom, and now I'm creating that career and realizing what I actually should be doing.
Yes.
But I've always been into like problem solving.
Yeah.
And I just have like recreated that. Of course, agriculture is, I don't know. I told someone the other day, I said, I'm going through a really bad breakup with my first love. And they were like, what are you talking about? I said, agriculture. I found out they're doing things behind my back.
That is so bad. But
that's been my first love all along, and I majored in ag and I worked in ag and knew that was the only thing I was ever going to do. But when I worked in the food plants, that was what I did. It was the problem solver. I made sure that we met all the regulations and those types of things.
Yes.
And so then when I stepped back and overly managed my children for a few years, I started my business, which is, I found the need and I filled it with the curriculum, but I also do coaching and have a membership and stuff where I help people work through these problems on their own farms and homesteads and stuff.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, because I can listen to someone for like 5 to 10 minutes and have just a plethora of ideas, and
that's so good.
I just realized that's what I needed to be doing. So
that is great. And, a lot of times we don't find, I feel like when we give up what we think we're supposed to do, or we know we're supposed to change avenues. Mm-hmm. And when we give up that one thing, it opens up a whole new world of where you may really have meant to be the whole time.
Mhm.
So, and that kind of, I feel like that sort of happened with you. I think it happened with me too. And you feel a need that no one else can feel.
Yeah.
And where your first job really, I mean, somebody else could do it. This particular one, not really, because it's all in your head, you've got all of the knowledge that other people don't have to do what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones where you can say like, I mean, even like, you're like, I'm a chef on the Outdoor Channel. But what you're really able to do is you're like teaching people outside of the box and something new to do with something that's always been done the same way.
Yes.
And I mean, there's just something so more and larger to what we're doing.
Yes. I mean, a lot bigger, because, then you're teaching people not just to live mediocre, at least in my world, and probably yours too, because I'm sure that that's what you're teaching, but to live full, to live bigger. I mean, I feel like, and this was another thing that about the wild game, you are able to have so much on your table, so much variety. So you go to the store and you've got steaks and chicken, and the creativity that goes along with cooking wild game or cooking straight off of the farm, cooking, even packaging up your own honey, or, getting your own eggs. There's so much creativity in all of that you don't get if you're not doing this. And I want people to live more complete, if that makes any sense, and more creatively. And we get to create all day long with what we do. We're getting to create. Yes. And so when I'm on the Outdoor Channel teaching people to cook, what I'm really doing is trying to get them out of their box and to say, okay, oh my gosh, you can make Chinese food with this? Because people, they're like, oh, I'm just going to wrap something in, wrap a jalapeno pepper with bacon and stuff it with the cream cheese and the venison. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's how we're going to eat it. And that's it. And they don't realize that the whole world is opened up to you. You've got dove. You've got turkey, you can eat goose, you can eat, all fish in every way. It's like the sky's the limit to the food that's put on the table.
What you're using with it, and the fact that you don't want to waste every little bit that you have. I mean, it just it just keeps going. And yes, I saw that with my husband when I first met him. He'd been a hunter his whole life too. And he's like, yeah, we make buck steaks and jerky.
Yeah.
That's what we do with it. Yeah. Like, no. Oh man, I just realized like my mic was way over here. Who knows what all my stuff sounds like today?
Well, I can hear you fine. I don't know.
Okay, good. But yeah, I mean, he was the first time I made like, I don't know, it was like a beef barley soup, but I made it with venison. He was like, I don't know, like I'll try it, like whatever. And I mean, now he's right on board with me on everything, like trying to figure out how to do something different with it or use it to its fullest advantage.
Yeah. I mean, like you're saying, to use everything, you've got, you can, your stalks, and then you can take the bones, the fish bones anyway, and, put around your plants like the Indians used to do. You can, put the other stuff in your compost pile, and here in the South it decomposes super fast. So, you can do that.
Not so much when it's -27, but
yeah, no, not so much. Yeah. You could probably just bury something alive and it'll probably, I'm just kidding.
You'd be surprised some of the things we find in our yard when the snow melts. So
wow. Oh my gosh.
We have six big dogs. So like, yeah, they'll go, I don't know, they probably like kill a fawn on the property or something.
Oh, wow.
And then there'll be a snowstorm and then everything freezes. And then in the spring, I have a fawn in my yard.
Oh my gosh. Oh, who knew?
Yeah. And then they try to bring it back in to keep eating it. We had a moose leg in our living room one time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There was somebody had hit a moose and left it on the side of the road, and our dogs found the leg and brought it in through the doggy door at night. So
that's something. Yeah.
But yeah, like something, I mean, even like with chickens, I mean, that's not, the wild game, but when I cook a whole chicken, we eat, like we pop the breasts out and like have it on a salad for lunch with our family. Right. I take the rest of the meat and I do like, I make my broth and I do chicken soup with that. Yeah. And then but I pull all the extra meat off. Once I
Right.
get done with making my broth and I strain it, all
Right.
the meat and all the little chunks of meat and vegetables that are in there,
Yeah.
I chop them and I turn them into egg rolls.
Oh yeah. How great is that?
So I mean,
So
it's like
good.
that's 3 meals out of one chicken
Yeah, that's
for the
delicious.
6 or 7 people that are still living in my house right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's perfect.
it's just not, and I had to even go down a whole nother path with this myself. My husband got sick a few years ago and we had to figure out a new way of eating because I'd always been, we'd always been hunters and had our gardens and stuff. And I thought I was a home cooker and I really wasn't. And um, from, I blame our mothers and grandmothers for giving up on cooking and buying everything in a box. But,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
but, yeah, I had to like kind of reinvent that. And to be at first when we switched over, I couldn't grow how much we needed fast enough. So I was having to buy a lot at the store. And I'm like, if I'm paying, $12 for an organic chicken,
Right.
I'm getting everything I can out of this organic chicken.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is
So.
expensive. They are outrageous. I went to a dermatologist probably 15 years ago, and I said something about having chickens, and she was like, I'll trade you like product, for one chicken. Like, and how expensive all that stuff is,
Mhm.
whatever. And I was like, golly, this is insane. Cause
Right.
it's like she was willing to pay like $35 or something for one chicken, because it was organically raised, and she knew that we had raised it right, and then it
Mhm.
wasn't,
And
didn't have.
although I kind of laugh too, because I'll actually watch my chickens when they're free ranging, pick like undigested grain out of
Oh
pig
yeah.
and pig and horse and cow poo. And I'm like, yep, that's my organic chickens.
Yeah, well, there it is. Yeah, exactly. True. Very true. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
always kind of laugh at that one. I mean, for me, I'm like, great. I know that everything on my farm is getting used.
Yes. 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 And I mean, everything,
Yeah.
everything is getting used. Yeah. Hmm.
And, I took our food budget from 1,500 a month to 300 a month when we had to
Wow.
switch over. Yeah.
Oh my, that is fantastic.
Yeah. And I mean, some of my inputs went into the farm, but then when you consider the non-monetary gains that come back from the farm, it
Yes.
was amazing.
So with your husband's diet, what did you change?
Okay. So he was diagnosed with liver disease.
Oh, no.
But we think it's something from Iraq. We're not really sure because we can't
Wow.
really pinpoint it to anything
Yeah.
else. They basically told him, get your affairs in order.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was really scary. He was only like 33.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. And so we're like, well, what do we do? What are our options? They're like, well, some people find eating naturally helps.
I'd be like, okay, surely that's not the advice you're giving me.
Yeah, no, that was literally the advice. Like,
Did it work? I mean,
yes,
how's he doing? Is he
he's
doing
doing great.
okay?
We made, several changes, but he had a biopsy in January
Yeah.
on his liver, and they told him like, we see a little bit of cirrhosis in there, like a little bit of scarring, but most 42-year-old men have a little bit of that. Other
Okay.
than that, I didn't even see any fatty liver.
Wow.
So they're like, you have a very healing liver, like you're good.
Good.
So
So you're pretty much just living off the land
living
for the most
off the
part?
land, we switched to, he was blown up 3 times in Iraq, so he does have some pain issues, and we've
Oh,
switched to more natural pain
medication.
management. Yeah.
Uh-huh. What do y'all
Mainly essential oils.
Mhm. And that
Um,
seems to work pretty good for
it
him?
does, yeah. He's still, he'll have a long day working on the farm and he's like, oh yeah, I'm taking a muscle relaxer tonight.
Okay. Okay.
But definitely, when he keeps on a regimen of making sure that he's taking all of his vitamins, and working on his gut health, and then just for staying on top of regular pain, he takes like essential oil type pain
Yeah.
management,
Yeah.
more topical uses, bathtubs, with the oils.
Right.
There are
Yeah.
some oral routes and stuff that he can stay off of the stronger medications unless he actually has an injury rather than just daily life.
Okay.
And I mean, he's doing really good. He's lost 60 pounds.
Gosh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Wow. What
And
did you change the way that you were eating? Did you eat more protein or just not as much fat? Tell me about that.
honestly, we actually raised our fat a little bit,
Really?
because at that time is when we switched to having a dairy cow,
Okay.
so that we didn't have to worry about what was coming in from the commercial milk,
Okay.
and that he'd also
We've been
get.
talking about that. And now, Scott, we were talking the other day how they take everything out and then they put it all back in, to when they do the homogenization, I guess.
Mhm.
So we're like, is milk really, well, to me at that point, it's not even milk anymore.
Mm-mm.
So I would like to, we've been able to find somebody here that sells, the milk. I think they pasteurize it, but they don't do anything else to it. And so, we've been looking for that, but it's like 45 minutes away from here. And is it
Yeah.
that worth it? I don't know.
I mean, it's when we first got started, we went with we had one small cow. She's a half Jersey, half Dexter. We've kept her calf on her, so we only did once a day milking. At first, I was really scared of the raw milk growing, being a food safety person for years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I was like indoctrinated to believe that that was the devil.
Right.
Now that I've done more research, but also with his liver disease and I was pregnant at the time, we did low heat pasteurization.
Okay.
Which means we only went to 165 degrees and then we dropped it right back down to 40 degrees as fast as we could. So we had like an ice bath in the kitchen.
Okay.
And from there, I could still get a cream line. I could still make cheese and yogurt and everything out of it.
Wow. That is so cool.
Yeah. And, we did hit those higher temperatures. And like I said, I was more concerned with his liver disease and me being pregnant. I didn't want any risks of like Listeria or E. coli or anything like that.
Yes.
Now we don't pasteurize at all.
Okay.
Yeah, we just drink it raw.
Oh, that is so fun. I need to come visit. I don't know. I don't think I've ever had it straight out of a cow because we don't have them. There's, and I really would love to do that. And maybe we should get a cow.
Maybe it's a consideration. Or maybe find like somebody else who wants a cow and you split the time and effort,
Yeah.
It's just, or another nice thing about it is like, if we get a dairy cow, we'll breed her to a beef bull every year. And then that calf is our food 2 years later.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Because even if you guys not doing a lot of beef and stuff,
Well,
you can use those beef fats for making your, like blending with your burgers and stuff.
Oh yeah. And we will do that because a lot of my recipes are like half beef, half venison. A lot of my burgers are that way, but I want good beef. And so my mom and my stepdad we will go in and have,
Nice.
a cow, and we can tell the person what we want and how we want it finished off, whatever. And so it works out really good. And I love doing that.
And everybody thinks just because you get a dairy cow that you can't ever leave. And that's not the case, especially if you leave the calf on.
Yes.
And then if you want milk, you pull the calf off for 12 hours and go milk her.
Okay.
I mean, you still need to have a cow that's comfortable with you and that she's worked with and that type of stuff, but it does make it where it's an option. But yeah, so raw milk is actually alive.
Okay.
It's got bacteria, it's got enzymes, it's got all those things that you need.
I am going to have this. Okay. So you have convinced me. I came on here and I have learned a lot. And so I'm going to do this. Okay.
But, it's just, we switched to that. So actually, like I said, I think our fat intake actually went up because we went to raw milk where we were, we make our coffee creamer out of the cream off of our milk line and stuff. I started doing homemade sweetened condensed milk so I could make coffee creamer. So,
oh man, this sounds like a new thing for me. Okay.
It's so yummy. Maybe find a place where you can buy it. Are you near a border anywhere? Like, are you right in the middle of Alabama or?
We are, but we have some property that we hunt. And it's a lot more acres, and it's pretty big. And
I just meant all the dumb rules with buying raw milk. Sometimes you can like sneak over the border and get it. I didn't say that.
I know, that's okay. I'm not all about rules. I'm not big into rules. But the guy that's next to us, he's a cattle farmer, and so it's a possibility. He's not really the nicest man, but maybe we can find somebody else around there that, because there's a couple of cattle farms right around there.
It's so nice too to have like your own butters and creams and,
Yeah.
you know, I think that, you know, and I've done a lot of research over the years, you know, from tons of different like educators and stuff out there. I tend to stay away from the influencers and stick with the educators, but that's
Right.
right. But I mean, there's so much information out there about this raw milk movement that I was just like, oh my gosh, why?
Yeah.
But yeah, it has helped my husband, especially just with all his gut health, because your gut health is directly related to like your serotonin production.
Okay. Yeah, that's neat.
And so we really focus on a lot of that, and he can't bring himself to eat some of the other fermented foods. So if I can get him to eat live foods, you know,
then you're good. So sauerkraut's out for him.
Yep, sauerkraut's out.
I love sauerkraut, and it's so easy to make. You know, I mean, it's just salt, massaging that salt in there.
Well, I heard fermented tomatoes are really good.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm gonna give that a shot this year.
Okay, good. Yeah, and you could probably cook with them, but then I think if you cook with them, it kills the bacteria, you know, but that would still be really, really good. I make a tomato, I haven't done it in a while, but a tomato dressing for salads and stuff. And it is like, you could just drink it when it's made, you know, out of those fresh tomatoes out of the garden. But I'm wondering if that fermented tomato might be good to make a dressing out of. And he can
I heard it's, you know, it's basically just tastes like a fresh tomato that's really salty.
Okay, there you go. I think
and I'm like that's how I eat my fresh tomatoes anyways. So
mix a little mayonnaise in there. I'm just kidding.
A tomato sandwich on white bread with mayonnaise and salt and pepper is
perfect food. I know, the perfect food. Add some bacon to it, and it's even better. I like it. Yeah. But you know, but venison sandwiches like that are really good too. I'm kind of changing that up a little bit, you know, because I like to have goat cheese with the venison, and then, you know, you could add the tomato and all that. It is so good. Do you make your own goat cheese?
No, we don't have goats.
Okay.
But I make cheese with our cows. So yeah.
Okay.
But then I want to learn more on that one. We took a year where we let the cows be dry for a year, and now they're being bred back.
Okay.
We just seasons of life, you know.
I do know. I know it's ever changing, you know, with kids. And what I have found, you know, so I didn't get to post on social media, and I really wish that I wouldn't feel guilt about that, but I didn't get to yesterday because I was working up until the time I went to bed just on, you know, just taxes. You got to do things, you know, and so just doing, you know, the ordinary things. And then I might need, you know, one of my kids was here that, you know, I needed to talk to. And so I was like, while he's here, I'm going to talk to him. And, you know, it's like, so it's just seasons of life, like you're saying, and you're going to, you know, choose family.
Well, like,
you know,
we're not doing school right now.
Yeah.
There's no way we can keep up on school when I'm on the road and my husband's running the farm and the kids and all of the things I'm obligated to do. Like, because I'm a 4-H leader, I teach at our co-op. And if I'm on the road, who's the 4-H leader and the co-op teacher? My husband.
Right. And I mean, and really the kids, they will learn. I mean, and they will catch up. You know, if you started to do something, if they can learn everything in 3 months period, you know, for that entire year. If
we
you know,
actually
right on it.
We do a lot of school in the summer.
Yeah, we do too.
You know, we get up in the mornings when it's still cool. I mean, it gets like light at 4:00 in the morning here.
Yes.
So we'll get up and work for a few hours, and then we'll sometimes come back in and take a nap.
Yes.
And then school at the heat of the day.
Yes.
And in the evenings when it starts to cool off, we'll head off into the mountains and go like huckleberry picking or something.
Yeah, that's so
And
fun.
while we're driving, I'll read to the kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And, you know, like right now, my daughter, she's traveling with me. She got up, I was speaking at an event and she was sitting up front. Yeah. And I said something about her, and somebody was like, well, I have a question for her then. And she stood up and spoke to a room of 150 people.
Yeah. Well, and she's learning so much just by being with you. I mean, because she's learning how to run a business, what it takes, how to talk to people, which is like half of every career really is, you know, how to talk to people and how to make them feel comfortable, and, you know, all of that. And it is a learning thing. It's a learning process. And if they don't have somebody to watch do it, then they're not going to be able to do it.
And then my son, we were on the trip. They get a gift every time they go on a trip with me. That's like their payment.
Yes.
And they
Yeah.
get to pick their gift. And so he wanted the history of farm equipment book. It's, $25 book or something. So
Yes.
I
Yes.
ordered that for him. We got home 3 days ago. He hasn't put it down since.
Wow.
And
and just read like crazy.
Mhm.
And they read what they want to read, but it always leads to something else. And it's always educational,
Yep.
like, I wonder how they did that,
Yeah. Or even my 5-year-old today, I've been doing podcasts all morning and we were home alone. He goes, well, I don't want to be loud watching TV, Mom. So I'll just do reading eggs on my tablet.
See, that's great. Okay, great.
I thought that was wonderful because he's my kid who refuses to learn his letters. He only wants to do math. So he volunteered to do letters so that he could be quiet for me while I worked.
Isn't that great? He does sound like a winner. Goodness gracious.
I
You
think
are lucky.
he was just born. Like, I don't even take any of the credit for him. Like, he was just born like really special. And like everybody in the family feels the same way. And
yeah.
Like it's a hard one. I obviously don't believe in reincarnation because, but he was conceived in the same time frame that my dad passed away.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just born with these like mannerisms and calmness about him it's like talking to my dad sometimes.
Wow, that is neat.
Yeah.
So neat.
Like,
yeah.
Whether it's God knew I needed him or, obviously not reincarnation, but like that, like his spirit, like not his spirit, but I don't even know how to describe it.
A lot like him. But it's really interesting because having the 7 kids, and me, even I'm going to actually be grandmother this year in September.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So this is going to be really weird, but my name is going to be Big Mama, which that's kind of, I know, isn't that weird? But my grandfather's mother name was Big Mama, and so he's always said I looked exactly like her, and I don't really look like my dad. I don't really look like my mom, and she was like Greek. She was just like she was 100% Greek, and so I think that's really strange that I can look like her. And he was like, you just look exactly like her. And then that my kids look like their grandparents. There's different ones of the grandparents that they look like. And the blue eyes, Scott and I don't have blue eyes, and we've got 2 sparkling blue-eyed kids. And then there's mannerisms of my oldest son that's just like my dad, which I didn't really grow up with him. I mean, I was around him some, but I don't know how he got these mannerisms because we're not really around him that much. And I was never around him growing up. And so I don't know. It's so strange. But
one that got me on that one is my dad always pointed like that.
Oh, wow.
It's like flipping someone off for my listeners who can't see it.
There you go.
He points with his middle. He always pointed with his middle finger.
Yeah.
So obviously no one in our house is doing that.
No. Yeah.
And that's how he points.
That's crazy.
And he started that at like 3 years old. And I was just like,
this is weird. I know that I would have gotten chills on that one.
Yeah. We were actually driving through a game refuge and he saw a buck. He's all, look at that buck over there. Like pointed with his finger like that. And I was just like,
what?
Like, yeah, it was weird for me. But then he makes comments like, when I worked on the docks after I left Tennessee, and I'm like, what?
That is weird. Now that's real.
That's the one that got me. And I was like, when did you work on the docks?
That's really strange.
He's like, after Tennessee, come on.
Okay.
My dad owns shipyards.
Wow.
My dad had a really interesting story. He ran away from Tennessee with his dad. He left his dad when he was 13 or 14.
Wow.
And hitchhiked to California to where his mom was. And got a job working in shipyards. And by the time I was born, he owned 4 shipyards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of one of those really neat stories. But then for my son to make those little comments once in a while, I'm like,
maybe y'all talked about it and he picked up on it or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It always kind of weirds us out, but he's very like I said, his personality is very, he's calm. My dad was always really calm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And kind of stoic, and you just handle things a certain way. And
That is so cool.
yeah, I don't know, but like I said, I have that comfort with him because he just that yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
The docks
What
thing
a
freaks me
blessing,
out.
that's for sure.
And then he said something about a guy at the docks, and I was like, "Who was it?" He's all Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm like,
Oh, okay.
okay, I need to talk to your older siblings about what they watch when they're home alone with you.
That's true. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So who
Wow.
knows? But it definitely, like the way he like said it in succession like that, it freaked us out. So
Yeah, that would be freaking me out too. Oh, wow. But
but
he's
that
wonderful.
that is one though, is myself and all of my boys have gray eyes.
Yeah.
And my dad had gray eyes.
Oh, that's so neat.
And that's one that like my husband has dark brown hair and brown eyes.
Yeah,
And
that's the dominant trait. And that's what I don't really understand how, you
Mhm.
know, but I guess that if you've got a strong recessive gene, and both of us do,
Mhm.
then you can have that beautiful crystal blue eye.
Yeah.
And it's fun to think about. And I have 5 left-handed kids out of the 7.
Wow. See, I'm the
So
only lefty in the whole family.
yeah, and we all, there's a difference in personality and in how you think. There really, really is, because I've been
Mhm.
able to test it. And the right-handers are totally right-handed, and they do not understand left-handers. I mean, they're just
Yeah.
like, I just don't understand this. So
And I find with me, there's a lot of things that like the way my brain works.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
say things to people and they don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm
yeah,
like, that just seems so,
bizarre.
but well, just like that seems so normal. That's just how I do it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like the way I think of things and the way I like visualize them and stuff. And
yeah.
they're like, no. And I'm like,
Not the same. It's
well, it
not.
works for me, so I'm gonna roll with it.
Yeah, yeah. But we do, all of my lefties do think very much alike. So there's something to that.
Huh. That's
Yeah.
good to know that I'm not the only weirdo. So,
No, no, no. They sit us at different tables too. I was talking to my daughter about the ACT, and she's like, well, they're going to sit me in, the front or the back, because I am left-handed. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And when I took the bar exam, we were all on the very front desk. And I'm like, why do we have to all be together? But I think that the paper, the way it's turned or something, maybe it's easier to cheat or something. I don't really know.
that, or maybe you're not distracting other people by bumping them or something.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there has been a complaint, those
I don't know,
terrible.
because I took the SATs and I didn't sit anywhere special because I was left-handed.
I don't
So
remember that either. With
yeah.
that. Yeah. I don't know. It was
I
weird.
do know I'm thankful that my husband's right-handed, so he can teach all of our right-handed kids how to shoot because I can't
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah. And how to tie shoes, and how to do just about everything, because I do everything backwards. And even
Mhm.
with the way we serve food in our house, I do it the wrong way. It's not clockwise, it's counterclockwise.
Mhm.
I just
Or things like I know my left from my right, and I know, I'm really good out in the woods. I know my north, south,
Right.
east, and
Yeah.
west really well.
Yeah.
But if we're driving, like I have to point what direction I want my husband to turn. Because if I'm like, quick, take a left, I definitely mean right.
My father-in-law's like that. I don't know. There's something, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's very weird.
Well, goodness, this has been a fun chat. Like I don't even know that I completely hit on the questions I had, but I loved it because it was just so think outside the box and inspirational. Like it's just been really great. We are getting towards the end of our time. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you?
Well, my website's probably the best place to find me, and it is stacylynharris.com with one I and one N. And all social media, same thing, is Stacy Lyn Harris. So those are probably the best places, and you can find out what I'm doing and watch
And
the
I'll be
outdoor.
sure to link all of that.
What now?
I said I'll be sure and link all that.
Oh, thank you. And right now, the Fisherman's Network, I believe, is showing the show that was on the Outdoor Channel, and it's also on Sportsman Channel, I think.
Mhm.
And so you can watch the show, and it's called The Sporting Chef, so you can watch
Okay.
that. Yeah, and then Yeah. So you can find out everything that I'm going to do and where I'm going to be and where my book signings will be next year and all that right from there. So subscribe to the newsletter and I'll send 1 or 2 out a week and, usually share a recipe or I'm going to write up my trip to California. It was really, really great. And so I was going to show pictures and tell people, where to go eat and, my favorite places and all of that. And so if somebody wants to take a trip out there, they'll just.
Oh, exciting. I'll have to look at that one myself.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
See if you hit any of my favorite haunts.
Yeah. So it'll be a lot of fun. So I'll be putting that up. So yeah.
Oh, exciting. Well, my favorite question to ask all my guests is, what does keep growing mean to you?
Oh gosh, keep growing. That's an interesting one. I think for me, it means just taking new challenges. And last summer, I worked in Alaska. I was a chef in a kitchen, and it was kind of crazy. I've never worked in a kitchen before, and everybody was like, yes, chef. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really weird. And, there were 8 people, under me, and it was on an island there, and just to keep doing things that are not comfortable. And so that's, to me, I guess, what keep growing would mean.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I am excited for this one to air because I think it's just what everybody needs to hear right now. And
I'm excited. Yeah.
I look forward to talking again soon.
Me too. How fun.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining me today at the Homestead Education, and I hope that I have given you something to think about this week. To help others find me, please comment and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. You can also follow me on Facebook at the Homestead Education and Instagram at Homestead_education. Do you have questions that you would like answered or just want to say hi? Please email me at hello@thehomesteadeducation.com. Until next time, keep growing.